for people. They really enjoy. I mean, I have people tell me, I found one at a yard sale, you know, and they're just so proud that they were able to find one of them. But my father, he passed away in 2001, and this was really a highlight of his life to be able to document this. And I tell everybody, you would not have this story without my father. He did so much of the legwork and had the passion for it. I wrote it, but he really was behind it. And this story wouldn't have been documented without him. So we've got to give him kudos, too, up there in heaven.
Absolutely, and I always got that impression from you, from anything I've read from you, is that how important he was to this entire thing. And I'm sorry I didn't touch on that more. Can you maybe expand on that just a little bit, just how he was so driven for this labor of love to, take place?
Well, he really had the drive to document it. That's really about all you can say. I mean, he just really wanted to know what the truth was about this. And like I said, it had haunted him his entire life from the time he was a small child. And it really meant a lot to him. Of course, he wasn't here when The Meaning of Our Tears came out, but it was something that was very special to him that we actually completed, White Christmas, Bloody Christmas, and that he had so much to do with it. And I really wrote it pretty much, the introduction and everything in his voice, because I considered it to be his story, and I still do. You just really wouldn't have this story without, his passion for it. And he did a lot of work, and I'm not sure if in my young age, if I had been out there trying to speak to those people, they were his generation, and I'm not so sure they would have spoken to me as candidly as they did him.
And on top of it, let's be honest, there were times in life where young females especially weren't getting the respect they deserve. Things are turning around, hopefully, now, but it is true.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of times that's still true. And even though I'm not a younger female now, females still have their challenges in doing something like this. But he was their generation, maybe a little bit younger than some of them, but still, he was retirement age at the time, and he was just able to connect with them, and they felt comfortable to open up to him, and then he was willing to document it, and he would bring me all the information and photographs he found and everything, and you just really wouldn't have this story documented without him. So, like I said, we got to give him his kudos.
Absolutely. Tip my hat to him. But, yeah, Trudy, again, thank you so much. If there's anything else you want to throw out, go for it. If not, I will let you have a good night, okay?
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. And everybody out there, if you're listening, just make a note of the websites. I'm going to have them all operating well here within the next 30 days. So all the new things that are coming out, you'll be able to order them easily and everything. And I do appreciate it, Travis. And
I'll absolutely make sure people hear this podcast in those Lawson family murder groups. That way they can, hear what you just said as well.
Okay, great. And everybody have a great holiday season, okay?
Absolutely. Merry Christmas and take care.
You too. Bye-bye, Travis.
Bye-bye. And that was Trudy J. Smith. I'm telling you, she was just unbelievable. I can't say enough good things about her and just the story as a whole. I got to give credit to Vic on this one. In fact, I give credit to Vic for a lot of the I'll call them serial killer shows, even though that's not what this one was. Again, real-life horrors, serial killers, real-life monsters, that type of thing. We've had a few. Obviously, every month we've been doing it now. It's the main event of the month for us. And since this was Christmas week, I told Vic we need to find one that's Christmas-related. And a while back, he found this story, and it was something that we weren't familiar with. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a guru of something I'm not. And, we both looked into it, and we're like, we need to get something together on it. And to be honest with you, it's not a subject that a lot of people have touched on. And I feel extremely lucky to have found Trudy, and I'm glad she's here, or she was here, to talk about it. So it's great that she did the work that she did. I think I might hear Vic in the background, maybe. or Blake. Blake, how's it going? You there?
That would be me, yes, sir. I caught most of the tail end of the show. She was wonderful. Such a treat. Such a treat.
Dude, she was so good. Really, really liked her, and that's as good as our serial killer episodes are. They're and as much as we could talk about them, one of the things that really make those episodes are the people that we bring on. So I just again want to thank her. But Blake, buddy, how are things with you?
Things are going well. I just finished organizing some more guests for the show and everything, and I've been, doing a mass email to, the 18 people that I've got in touch with to remind them, the clock's ticking. You better set your clock, or I'm going to, drag your ass to Elm Street. There won't be no need to call. I'll drag you.
Blakey Krueger. So I wanted to tell everybody. So usually, around this time, I'll start setting up next week. And to be honest, I don't have anything booked for next week. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a much-needed week off. And I'll get into my Christmas horror in a second, but I just need to recharge the batteries before our Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective, because those things, these long retrospectives, like the Friday the 13th one and the Halloween one, they can be exhausting, when you're sitting through that whole thing. Not that they're bad, but they can be exhausting. So I'm going to take a week off at the end of the year. If anybody, if Vic finds me a really good guest and blows me away, I might take that back. So I'm not going to tell anybody I'm taking time off other than to say it right here. But what led to that, and I'm not one that usually puts my business out there, but I'll share this story only because it kind of coincides with why I'd like to take a week off, just so I don't murder everybody and become the next Charlie Lawson. Last week I started having chest pain, and it was really bizarre. Like, I was ready to do a podcast, not this show, a different show, and I started having chest pains, and I thought it was something I ate, but it went on for like a day and a half, and eventually it just kind of left, and it felt like somebody was sitting on my chest. It wasn't too horrible. It was more annoying than anything else. Saturday night, I started getting a stitch in my side, like in my left side, and it drifted up to my chest again, and it was just like the thing before, but this time it felt like some fat ass was sitting on my chest. It was awful. And I mean, to the point where I could barely breathe. It wasn't that I couldn't breathe, it's just when I'd breathe in, it would hurt like a motherfucker. Well, my left shoulder started going numb, and not just numb, actually it was hurting like a bitch. I could not lay on my side, I could not lay on either side. I couldn't lay on my stomach. That felt like I was dying if I did that. If I laid on my back, it was horrible. Finally, I told my significant other to come in the room, and I said, I need to go to the hospital. Which, if anybody knows me, you can't get me to a doctor, much less a hospital. I haven't been to a doctor since I was maybe 15, because I lived at home. So that kind of tells you something about me and my mental state. It's been like 18 years since I've been to one. Not that I'm scared of a doctor, I just have no point. I'll get over it, is how I always look at things. So anyway, I mean, literally, I thought I was having a heart attack. And no joke, it felt that way. It was in my chest. It was in my left side. It was bad. It was probably the most severe pain I've ever felt. Now, so my brother took me to the hospital because I didn't want to wake the babies up. So, of course, everybody's freaked out. They take me to the hospital. I get an EKG. I get the whole workup, and heart's fine, just FYI, everybody. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm in good shape, but I'm not fat. I'm not overweight, not anything like that. Turns out they say it was just pleurisy, which is one of those things where something gets into your lungs, you get an inflammation, and it feels like, well, you're having a heart attack. It felt a hell of a lot worse than that. So, they ask you a lot of questions like, how's your stress? And I'll be quite honest with you. I'm a stressed out motherfucker. I'm a pretty intense guy. So, when things start going bad at home and I get irrationally angry, it's because, that's just kind of the type of personality I am. And I burn my candle at two ends. So just to take a week off would be a huge vacation for me. So that's what I'm going to do unless Vic blows me away with some guest, and I'm sure he knows what I'm talking about if he's around somewhere. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out, that story. It's the first time a lot of you are probably hearing it. So, again, I'm okay. I'm fine. They let me go that night. Everything was cool. They didn't even give me pain medicine. They just gave me anti-inflammatories, and it kind of slowly went away. Chest pain's almost gone today, slightly there, but it's more like if I move a certain way, I can feel it. It's almost like pulling a muscle, but a hell of a lot worse, at least at the time. So I'm good. But anyway, Blake, I just wanted to share that.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. When you said a stitch in your side and you were having the numbness and the pain, that's the first thing I thought was, that's either he's burning the candle at both ends because he's up every week running his fucking mouth on this podcast and talking his ass to death, or he's having a heart attack. So that's initially what those two things. And I'm kind of glad to know that it was because you don't know how to stop talking and stop working your ass so hard. That's what's caused it. So that makes me feel a little bit better.
That would be my guess on the matter. Part of it also is the fact that I always feel like I need to take everything on my shoulders, which gets to be hard too. And that's not just a podcast thing or a work thing. That's at home too. You know, I can only do what I can do sometimes, but it is what it is. And like I said, I'm good now. And it's nice because I've let Blake book an entire Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective without a whole lot of input from me. And that's what's really cool about it is it's kind of be a treat for me. It's almost like an extended vacation, even though I'll be on the shows. Blake's made it easy on me.
Well, ever since you had me on my very first show with you guys, and the first listening experience I had was the Wes Craven tribute, and I think I've missed one, maybe two shows since then where I didn't listen, and the rest of them I participated in. So I was like, I felt so, felt so grateful to you and Vic, for having me and, letting me be a recurring guest and sometimes help host the show and do that other stuff. I said, what the hell? Let me work on my book thing and then reconnect with those people. So I sent out a big mass email and got a bunch of people involved. And the good news is we've got what looks like 2 to 3 guests for the Freddy's Dead night. Andy Mangles is going to be on, and we're going to have Ricky Dean Logan, who was Carlos, and we may have Leslie Dean because she's a close friend of Andy's. Andy is just, I can't believe he's willing to do it. Andy's actually been on the bestseller list for 2 books that he co-wrote with another author dealing with the closing of the television show Roswell. They wrote a book that kind of tied up the ambiguous ending of that show, and then he did one that was a Star Trek, one of the Star Trek books, and then, of course, he did some X-Files publishing and some, the guide to the Star Wars vehicles and all that sort of stuff. So he's going to lend us his expertise and stuff, as far as that goes. But yeah, I see what you're saying about taking time off. I'm actually putting the books down and not touching it for the rest of this month. Anyway, I've been working my ass off. Got almost 11,000 words in on it. It's hitting 40 or 50 pages, and I'm already like 10 chapters in, and I just want to take a little bit of a break. Plus, having to finish up that album without a singer, because our singer decided to part ways with us right as we're about to, put the song on the radio, which kind of put a damper on doing that. So I was like, I'm auditioning people, me and the rest of the guys, to come in and finish this record. Since we've got all the music done, we've got to come, find that right voice to come in and finish it. It's just, just to put us behind a little bit. So I've been busy dealing with that in addition to writing this book. So I know what you're saying about taking time off. I fucking need the time off.
Dude, and don't get me wrong, like a lot of times, like last week with The Shining, it was easy. I mean, this week, because I had to do research for the show, obviously, and stuff like that. So it wasn't, a break or anything, which I'm happy to do. Obviously, I love these types of shows. But, so I'm certainly not blaming the podcast, but it is, nice to come home on a Monday night and not have to do shit. So next Monday, like I said, I'm just going to take a break for a week. And we all need that at the end of the year anyway. We'll recharge our batteries, get it all started again with the Nightmare on Elm Street retrospective. Good start to the year, I think. So should be fun.
I wholeheartedly. I agree wholeheartedly. It's a great way to kick the year off in fine style and, take care of all that. By the way, I did some research on the Lawson thing for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and I think it's funny, that Trudy brought up the head injury thing because that was one of the things a lot of people blamed it on, but they actually, Johns Hopkins University had his brain analyzed. They looked at it, and there was no discernible